In the words of Bernie Mac from '01 to '06, hello America. It's your favorite neighborhood lawyer, Markwell Cade with Cade Mark Law, back with another resource for you. Love is in the air. It's Valentine's Day. And today we thought, because it's Valentine's Day, what better topic to talk about than prenuptial agreements? So today we're going to talk about 3 things that you have to have for your prenuptial agreement to be valid. Now, as I always do with these things, disclaimer alert, because prenuptial agreements are typically going to go by state law, so each state is going to have different requirements for their prenuptial agreement. But these 3 things are some similarities that almost all the states share when it comes to things that you must have in your prenuptial agreement. But before we get into our 3 must-haves, I want to break down and demystify the prenuptial agreement process and the connotation behind prenuptial agreements. A lot of times, most people associate prenups with preventing a gold digger from getting someone's money, with a cold, calculated business decision that should never be intertwined with a marriage. But actually, a prenuptial agreement can be the ultimate act of love. It tells your partner, hey, these are the things that are important to me that I want to keep as my own, that I don't want to fight about in the event that this works out. I want to make sure that you're taken care of even in certain situations. Prenuptial agreements allow you and your spouse to come to an agreement on what the relationship will look like in the event it doesn't work out. What happens to your assets that you had before the marriage? What happens to your assets that you guys gained during the marriage together? You want to outline these things because from my experience, by the time you get to divorce, things are super sour and it's going to be super hard to come to an agreement on anything. So coming to an agreement through something like a prenuptial agreement actually can be the ultimate act of love. But enough of my rambling. The first must-have for a prenuptial agreement is that each spouse must have access to their own counsel. Now, this means that each spouse must have the opportunity to seek their own independent attorneys in the creation of the agreement and the understanding of the agreement and the signing of the agreement, these types of things. The other spouse doesn't have to actually hire their own attorney, but they must have access to do so. Without independent access to counsel, a prenuptial agreement could fail in most states. So you want to make sure that this is a checked off box for your prenuptial agreement. Allow your spouse an opportunity to seek their own counsel. I can't tell you how many times spouses come to me jointly seeking a prenuptial agreement, which is great. It's great that spouses are thinking about these things. But one spouse must often go find their own independent attorney so that they can have their own access to counsel, even if they don't hire them. The second must-have for any prenuptial agreement is that each spouse must fully disclose all of their assets to the other spouse. It's kind of like making an informed decision. You want to make sure that your spouse has an opportunity or has access to view all of your assets, all of the things that you have pre-marriage. By not disclosing these things, your prenuptial agreement could fail. There should be no hiding the ball. You're going to get married after all. You should share with your spouse everything you have pre-marriage, and they should share with you everything they have pre-marriage. That way, each party is making an informed decision on what's being withheld and what rights are being kept to what property and what assets. The third thing that you often must have for your prenuptial agreement is a notice of waiver of rights. Now, this is just a fancy legal term for saying that you must disclose in the prenup any rights that your spouse is waiving. By getting married, your spouse will eventually have access to your assets through law that is created through the state. Spousal inheritance, for example, intestate laws. These types of things allow for spouses to receive things if you die, for example, or in the case of alimony and spousal support, if you were to divorce. You must include a notice that that spouse may be giving up these rights by signing a prenuptial agreement. By not informing them that they're giving up important rights, your entire prenup could fail. That's all, folks. Thank you so much for joining us today. We know love was in the air given it's Valentine's Day, so we wanted to talk about prenuptial agreements and the 3 must-haves. We hope this was helpful. Once again, I am Markwell Cade with Cade Mark Law, your favorite neighborhood lawyers. Protect your brand, grow your business, stay frosty, my friends. We'll see you next time.